Morning guys, so we're heading to the garage. We're gonna pull the chassis leg today. Like I said, the car was advertised in corporate as category N, non-structural damage. Well, upon stripping it, turns out that the chassis leg is shifted a wee bit, not a lot. So we're gonna cross-check it, do all our measurements, pull it back into place, and close up the front end. It's not necessarily corporate's fault. Corporate advertises cars based on the assessment of the insurance assessor. So it's the insurance assessor who realistically determines the category on the car. My Audi, it wasn't stripped. I bought it with the damage on it without the bumper being off or anything like some of the cars in corporate do. That leads me to believe that the insurance assessor who wrote the car off didn't bother stripping it based on the outside damage. When you put all the prices of parts and labour together, it wrote the car off, and he didn't bother stripping it and investigating it any further. And like I said, to me, looking at the car, it didn't look like the damage is structural, if that makes sense. So I don't blame them. Corporate gives you a chance to inspect the car before putting a bid. You can come on their site and book a slot and have a look at the car that you're interested in before you put a bid. So I'm not blaming them. They only went with what the final assessment of the insurance assessor was. It's not a big deal. I get a chance to show you guys some jig work, how to cross-check a car to make sure it's straight, and how to pull a car. So we're gonna do that today. So stay tuned. So we're gonna start by cross-checking the car to know how much the chassis leg did shift. We're gonna use this beautiful Carolina cross-checking tool. It's quite easy to use, and it's a very good tool to determine if the car, the chassis, any kind of chassis components are straight or not. So we're going to assemble this beauty, and I'll show you guys how to cross-check the car. One end of the cross-checking tool, it's actually magnetic, so you point it, you find the point of reference with that bit, and then you push it in, and it stays in that spot as the surrounding bit is magnetic, so attached to the car. And then we've got this rod here, which will be pointing at the chassis leg. So I'm going to use this hole here as my point of reference. So this is how it works. You put the wee cone in the thing, and then it's magnified and it sticks to the car, so you can't move it. Now this part of the tool will go on the chassis leg there. We'll measure the distance, and then we'll do the same for the other side, and that will give us a cross reference as to how much that is shifted. So I've got this end in the reference point, and I've got this rod here pointing directly at the edge of the chassis leg. So that's locked. You lock it with those wee screws, and now we're going to go ahead and put in the same point reference on the other side and cross-check it against this chassis leg, and that will give us an indication of how much that is shifted. That's now hooked in there, and as you can see, I took a wild guess last time, and I said it's shifted with 5 centimeters, and it would be, I was about right. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that now. We know it's definitely shifted. It's not a lot, if you look at the distance here. So yeah, I'll go ahead and give it a wee pull. So we've cross-checked it, and we're missing 5 centimeters for the chassis leg to sit right. So we're going to go ahead and pull it. But what I'm going to say, I'm going to keep this device locked in the position that it was in. Why? Because at any point when I'm pulling the car, I can always sit it in the reference point and see how much I need to pull it. I don't want to over pull it, because once you over pull it, then you kind of stretch the metal back and forward. You don't want to do it. You want to get it right on point Instead of giving it one big pull, you're going to tickle it a wee bit and keep cross-checking to see if it's sitting in the right place. I will have to check if the chassis leg is sitting at the right height. I'm going to do it using a laser level spirit. I'm going to show you guys how to check that as well, because as much as the chassis leg shifted to the side, it could as well, you never know, shift down or up the way. So, but I'm going to pull it to the right spot first, and then we'll check if it's sitting level with the other chassis leg. But I'm going to keep that locked for now, because I'll need it throughout my pulling process. So that's the jig on. The car is clamped by the sills. Ideally you should put four sill clamps on. I'm only going to put 2 because it's a wee light pull. I don't think we should struggle. As I press the pedal, the pulling tower extends and it's pulling the chassis leg, as you can see right there. So that's the chassis leg moving. So, after pulling it that way, just to make sure it's not shifted back a wee bit, I'm pulling the chassis leg sideways, completely sideways. So I've got it hooked up here at the front because that's what I'm pulling against, and the back is hooked just in case the back end starts to swerve a wee bit with all the force pulling it. Like I said, if it's a big pull, I'm clamping it on all 4 corners. Because this is my car and it's a wee slight tog, I'm only hooking it in 2 points for quickness. But we're missing literally 5mm of where the chassis leg should be. I'm pulling against the oak crash bar because I don't want to wrap the chain around the plate or the chassis leg, get paint off of it and stuff. I could put a nylon strap on it and pull out the strap. But same again, I don't want to damage the chassis leg. I would rather put more damage to the crash bar because I'm renewing it anyway. So I'm pulling it against that. But like I said, we're not far off. Another wee tog and we should be fine. Right, so this is all set up. My point of reference will be the top mount bolt. As you can see, that's in right at the bottom of the bolt. And here, actually, if I can catch it without my hand being in the way, if we move the cables up, it's not going to work. But basically, the laser is, if you see it, right on the bottom of the bolt as well. Just the cables, there we go. So I know that the car is leveled, and what I'm going to do now is lower this down to the chassis legs to see if they're straight. Now I lowered it down to the chassis leg level, pointed it through the bolts there, and it seems to be almost perfect. So we're going to leave it at that, but that's me confirmed that the chassis legs are sitting on the same level. Cross-checked it, they're sitting straight the way they should. Now we're going to go ahead and fit the front panel. Just before I put the front panel with the radiator pack on, I've noticed that the plug for the fan has a broken wire. As you can see, it should be there. So what I'm going to do is remove that pin, solder the wire back on to the pin and slide it back in, and make sure it all works before I put the front panel together. So I've managed to take the pin out dead easy. If you've got pin removal tools, you jam the tool and the wee holes there, 2 of them, and then that just slides back. You can clearly see it better. Let me get it into focus. There we go. See those wee pins? That's what holds it in place. Once you pry them, it just slides out. I'm going to go ahead and sort that wire, put that onto the pin, and then I'll solder that whole thing onto this, slide it back in, and that should be us. Right guys, so I've put the pin back into the plug now. I've soldered it, it's all working. I've had the ignition on. The thin cables are CAN cables. CAN is your communication system within the car. The voltage on the thin wire should be between 2 to 4 volts. Stick my multimeter in it. It's pulling 3.7 volts, which means that it's all fine. So we can go ahead and put our front panel on. I'm still waiting on a crash bar. That's back ordered with Audi, but it doesn't stop me from putting the front panel on. Once the front panel is on, we'll go ahead and fit the new wings on, and that will leave us with front bumper on the front end, the crash bar, and a couple of airbags inside the car, and then we can move on to doing the panel work, preparing it for paint. I'm not going to reveal yet what we're going to do with it, but all I can say is it's going to get a colour change. I'm not going to tell you what colour it's going to go. I'm going to go with, but leave a comment and let me know what you think, what colour I should go for. It's currently white. I'll be spraying all the door checks and everything, so get a complete colour change. But now we're going to move on to fitting the new front panel, so I'll go and grab the panel and we're going to do that. Right, so the front panel is on. Everything is hooked up, the hoses, all the pins and crash sensor all connected up, the aircon hoses as well. So we'll still have to take all the wee stickers off, Audi stickers, and we'll need to gas up the aircon and top up the coolant. That's our next step. However, I'm missing a wee hose that's common. So I'm not going to fill the car with water yet. So yeah guys, 2 headlights which I've got on order, they're common. Complete front bumper, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm buying an Audi A3 front bumper. I'm also buying side skirts, S-line side skirts for that car off of Audi. I think it will give it that wee mean look. I'm thinking about putting new wheels on it as well, but we'll get to that later. So yeah, the front end is done, the chassis leg pulled straight, sitting right, the front panel is on, waiting on the crash bar. I didn't hook up the front panel yet because the crash bar kind of slides in behind the front panel, here on the bottom, and then on the top it just sits on front. So we'll still need to do that, but almost there. The next step is sitting the wings on, lining up the bonnet, because the bonnet's just sat on for now, lining up the bonnet with the wings, and taking the interior out, because that's going to be sent away. I was missing a wee connector. It stopped me from filling up the car with coolant. I've got it now. Audi only sells the whole hose with the connector. However, Volkswagen doesn't. Those engines are 1.6 diesel. They were fitted in Golfs and Polos and whatever. Caddies, I believe, as well. So Volkswagen sells it separate. So I'm going to fit that today. Fill the car up with coolant. Do a pressure test on it. Make sure there's no leaks from the cooling system. I'm going to gas up the aircon, and I'm going to put the wings on. I've got new wings here. I'll need to swap brackets from the old wings onto the new wings, and we'll go ahead and hopefully today I'll have the front end kind of lined up, the bonnet with the wings and stuff. Still waiting on 2 headlights. Enough talking, let's get to work. I'm going to go ahead and start lining up the front end. I don't know if I'll get to taking the interior out today, but hopefully I will. So yeah, stay tuned, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. I'll try to answer any questions as soon as I can. But like I said, still I'm not sure. I'm 90% sure about the Nardo Grey. If there's any other colour that you think would suit it better, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. All out, you win it. The next thing I'll need to do is try to pick out that missing bit out of the hose, which is still in the hose, but we'll get to that later. I'll fit that just now, clamp it into the radiator, and we'll worry about that bit next. Right, so to remove that remaining piece of the plug, you can see it there, it's right there. Boop, boop. It's still stuck in the pipe. Clamped it to get the wee clamp out, and I've put a wee 10mm in. Screw it in enough so I can use that bolt as a leverage to get it out. So let's try that and see if it works. Right, the bolts seem to do the trick. There we go. It's out the pipe, so I'm gonna hook it up now to there, and I'm gonna top up the coolant to see if there's no other leaks. I'm gonna fit the crash bar, but yeah, let me hook that up and top up the coolant. Right, so I have connected the new wiring to bonnet release cable. Before I put that wee cover, I want to make sure that the locks actually lock. So I've got the locks locked. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger to see if it works. Believe me or not, as silly as it sounds, I've done it a million times. I fitted new bonnet locks and forgot to connect the release cable. As you know, sometimes it happens when you're in a job busy and you've got a lot of things going on, and then I would shut the bonnet down and I can't get it open. So I've learned from my mistakes. I've hooked it up. I'm going to make sure it works, and then I'll put the cover on, and that's it sorted. So the locks are locked. I've connected the sensors as well. So let's see if it worked. I heard the click, and that's a good sign. And yep, they're both released, so we can go ahead, put that on and build our air guides on the front panel. Now with the bonnet release cable tested, I've went ahead and I've built the missing piece of the air guide that goes into the air box. Clipped all of them in. Now it's time to put the last cover on, just a wee finishing trim. And yeah, that's that all done. We'll go ahead and fit the new wings. But yeah, I'm gonna move on to fitting the wings now. All the wings are there. I need to salvage those brackets, put them on the new wings before I put the new wings on the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. They're riveted on. So we're gonna drill the rivets of the old brackets on the old wings, fit them on, rivet them on the new wings, and like I said, I really want to line up the front end and get that sorted. But yeah, let's do the wings. That's the last one on this wing. Another one to go. Gonna go ahead and fit that on the car right now and line it up,
and get the other one done. Right, so the brackets, as you can see, are swapped, but before I go ahead and fit the new wings on the car, I'm going to take both splash guards off. I took off the old wings without taking splash guards off for quickness. However, to line it up, I'll need to probably adjust it, move it up and down, you know, back and forward quite a few times. So I want proper access to all the bolts. So before I fit the wings, I'll take the splash guards off. As you can see, guys, the new wing is on, lines up pretty well. However, look at the gap on the bonnet. Obviously I still got the other wing to fit on, splash guard off and the wing on. However, you can see that this is how that sits and this is how that sits. There's definitely something wrong with the hinge. So I think I'll go ahead and order new pair of hinges, but I won't do that until I get the other wing on, and then that will indicate what's wrong. But the new wing lines up fine to the door, nice gap along there, nice and flush all the way down, so that's okay. So time to put the other wing on. Right, so remember what I said earlier, the bonnet just needed a wee push that way. Obviously that's a second-hand bonnet, the bolts are not super tight, so I managed to push it over. It's a bit better, it's still not 100%, but it's nice. Bonnet sits up a wee bit here, so it needs a wee minor adjustment on the hinge down the way, I think. Actually starts to kind of line up here, so I think that hinge on the passenger side needs to go down. And see, if you look on the driver's side, the wing sits higher up, so I think this hinge on the driver's side needs to go up. But like I said, there's plenty of movement on the hinge bolt, so I'll play about with it. Apart from that, it's not too bad actually, and it lines up nice and flush here to the door. Nice gap along the way, so I think there's still a bit of playing to do with the bonnet. This hinge up, the other hinge down, and I think it will actually line up fine. I don't think we need new hinges, but that's the front end almost done. Crash bar to go on, headlights, new bumper, and that will be us done with the front end. It's time to get the interior out, get the seat belts out. Seat belts on the back are gonna be red as well, so we're gonna I'm gonna go ahead and remove them out as well, pack them up, send them to airbag team. Driver's airbag is gonna be supplied by airbag team as well. I didn't fit the center console because that the airbag module is located right there, so I needed off to get that sent away and then put it back in before I can fit the center tunnel. But yeah, guys, we're getting there. Almost done with the front end. Had to pull the car, had to play a bit with the front panel. But apart from that, actually, it's going Well, few surprises, few parts that I had to order that I didn't think I'm gonna have to order, but that's what you get when you get a car from Copart. You never know what's wrong with it. You know, you don't know if there's any hidden faults that Copart didn't know about, that you didn't know about. But like I said, we're gonna remove the interior and move on with putting it together. Right guys, our seat belts are out, so is our airbag module. As you can see here, the interior is out as well. The front passenger seat belt is located right there. Oh, that's the chunk of the trim still in there. I'll go to the bin. Rear passenger seat belt right there. That's all out. So yeah, time to pack all our airbag stuff in a box, send it away to airbag team, let them do their thing, and I will go ahead and start stripping the seats of the trims to post them to the trimmers.